travel. That's both holidays and corporate travel, but he is a travel expert and has been for a number of years. He came to an event of mine last summer, and we've been, networking buddies ever since. I'll come on to Alex in a moment. Just while people are joining, just want to talk about some of the things that I've got going on at the moment. So the idea behind these LinkedIn Lives is that people that are coming on have got something to promote. That's the idea, right? This is business networking. And, if we can talk about what it is that we do and what we love and what we're passionate about, hopefully we can get some business off the back of it. Bit of referring, So my events are coming up. There's one next week in Berkshire, which is a Woco Loco, which is just classic pub networking. And there are tickets on the Eventbrite page. So I've just popped a link there. So go to that, please follow it. And then any new events that I put on, and there's lots that I need to put on throughout the summer, and I'm working on that at the moment. So watch this space for new dates. If you follow that page, you'll get updates. But if you're following me on LinkedIn anyway, you're probably getting a lot of my updates anyway. So that's Woco Loco. In fact, there was one last night, hence the balloon that I've still got from it. And in the comments section of this live, I put a picky in there of Alex and I last night. But no, it was a really, really good evening in London. I also run paddle networking events. I'm not going to list them all because we've got loads going on, lots of different locations. We are opening more any day now. So again, watch this space for news and updates on that. Alex comes to paddle networking as well, which is amazing. And Alex, you've been networking even this morning. So you're at Woco Loco last night in central London, and then you were out this morning. So yeah, introduce yourself. As I said, you are a travel expert, but it would be great to hear a little bit of the story as to what you were doing before you were doing that. And then we'll chat a bit about networking as a whole.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. So I've been running this travel business now for the past 8 years. Previous to that, I worked in corporate life. So I spent almost 20 years working for Hewlett-Packard, selling technical training, responsible for a few different countries across Europe for various products. Just got tired of corporate life and needed to do something that I had more passion for. I've always loved traveling, and so found a winding path to end up with a travel business, as you do. Not unusual.
Not unusual at all. No.
Yeah, well, it's just something that I have more passion for. I think, I was struggling. You work through corporate life and you're doing, all the sort of day-to-day activities, looking to grow your career and all the rest of it. But for me, I certainly came to a point where I just lost passion for what I was doing, and that was my biggest problem. I was just on a sort of hamster wheel day by day doing that role, and I knew I needed to do something different. I wasn't really quite sure what the path was I was going to take when I took the choice to leave corporate life. And then ended up here and run a travel business for 8 years. I've managed to somehow survive COVID times. When I started this off, you write a list of all the things that can go right in the business that you plan to run, and all the things that can go wrong. And I went through as far as, we could have a volcano like we did in 2011, and that could shut airspace for a few weeks. And then we could have, this problem, that problem. What I didn't cater for was global pandemic. Was not on my list, and but I truly believe you can survive a situation like that. You can survive anything, and you make your way through. And the world of travel is always going to have an element of flexibility in it, and the world situations have a direct impact, as they are at the moment with the situations going on in the Middle East. And but for us, it's about working with that and changing and working with customers to help them mitigate the impact that sort of thing has, without them sort of panicking in the background, worrying about what their travel plans are, or is their money safe, or are they going to be safe when they travel. That's all comes back onto somebody like me to make sure that they're kept calm and informed of what's going on.
And you are absolutely vital to all of this. And I'm going to say to everyone that's on, you can put a comment in or a question or whatever it might be, and you'll also get a shout out. But put any questions that you might have about holidays that you've or travel that you've got planned or thinking of doing, and we'll answer those live today. yeah, that would be awesome. Bit of interaction, which is always good fun. But yeah, please just pop those in the comments, or if you're, just here and maybe you were at Woco Loco last night and you want to check in. Any fuzzy heads? Mine's a little bit fuzzy. I did have a really croaky voice this morning when I woke up. Thankfully, that has subsided. But yeah, it was great. It was one of those evenings where you just do not stop talking, and there was so many great people to meet and so many new people as well. And yeah, it was a lot of subject matters that were covered. But Alex, you are always talking to people about travel. I mean, I say at my events, don't come and pitch, because I want everyone to get to know each other for other things, whereas you do an amazing job that everyone wants to talk about travel. It's such an interesting subject matter. Whether it's stuff that they're doing or thinking of doing, but it always comes up. Some certain subjects that happen at
I think
networking
because it's
events.
such an aspirational product, and I think we're so it's almost inbuilt into us in the UK that we love to travel. We love to go and explore,
Absolutely.
see new places. Some people like to go back to the same place every single year. So everybody's got a different travel style.
Yeah.
A lot of people work towards that as they've been there. They'll work hard all year, but their sort of 2 weeks in the summer is almost sacrosanct in terms of that. They must have that to be able to focus on their, the rest of their work life through the rest of the year. And there's just so many cool places in the world to go and explore, things to understand, to experience. There's always somewhere different to go. Some madder than others, but people like to some people like to go and explore and see what else is out there.
No, amazing. Before we delve into the travel as a whole, because I mean, I've got loads of questions for you. I'm hoping some people watching at the moment will have some questions as well, that are watching live, of course. And of course, if you're not watching live, you can contact Alex on his website, or obviously via LinkedIn, and ask him any questions.
I'm always happy to talk travel.
Yeah, no, amazing. I'll bring that up towards the end as well. But tell me about the networking that you've been doing this morning, because I love that you do a really cool range of stuff.
Yeah, so today we do. So I run a walking networking group close to where I live. Walking, yeah. And we go to meet at 7:20 this morning, and then we walked for about 4.5 miles through some beautiful countryside, and we get a number of people together. We walk in pairs for, normally it's about 15 minutes. You'll walk with each person and have a good chat. You might talk work, you might talk hobbies, family, whatever you want to talk about. There's no direction, and we just enjoy people's company, enjoy the environment that we're in. Get your steps in before 9 o'clock, and then we stop for coffee afterwards. And it's just, networking takes so many different forms, and different ones suit different people. And some people will come to walking networking that wouldn't dream of being in a standard networking event, in something more structured. But walking side by side takes the pressure away, and everybody there loves walking, so you already have something in common. Because if you've come to that event and you don't love walking, then you've made the wrong decision.
Yes, no, absolutely. Are dogs welcome?
Dogs are always welcome.
Oh, amazing.
Well behaved. We had 2 this morning. But yeah, they're always welcome, as long as they're generally well behaved, because we walk, some of the areas we walk over the hills in West Berkshire this morning, and some of the fields had cows in, so you have to be a little bit mindful of things like that. But yeah,
you don't want to be getting in trouble with the farmers, definitely not. But you just mentioned where you are, and you live in one of the most beautiful places in the country. Well, I mean, I'm biased, it's Berkshire, but it's so beautiful out there. So yeah, you've got some great walking spots. But I love it.
We're in the Goring Gap, so we're in between sort of Oxfordshire and Berkshire. So we have some great walks, great places to get out and about. So why not go experience it?
There's some cracking places to go for a drink around there as well. If you have a little
we do sometimes during the summer. We will do an afternoon walk as well, which might lead to a pub somewhere.
Beautiful. Count me in. Great stuff. So, and then paddle networking. So I think you might have even come to the first ever one.
I came to the first one.
Yeah, so you have
I missed the
been,
last one because it was Easter holidays, and
yeah,
the kids had other ideas. But
yeah,
but now I'll be back in May, and paddle networking is great. Again, it's a different style of networking. It's very relaxed. You do your sort of introduction piece, but then you get to build relationships with people on court, and because
yeah,
you're always playing in a pair with somebody else, you get a chance to build a
yeah,
bit of a relationship with somebody, and then you get a bit of off court time to generally talk about life, business, and what have you. But it's nobody wants to be sold to. They want to build a relationship with somebody, see if they like them, and then if they like them, then they might consider working with them.
yeah,
And it goes down that sort of road. And again, same as walking networking. If you turn up to paddle and you don't like running around the tennis court, again, you make the wrong decision. Think about what you do.
It's not running, is it? So people, there's a lot of people that come to me and say, oh, I've never played, oh, I'm not very fit, or I don't like the idea of it. It is the equivalent of a brisk walk because you don't really run. I mean, there's a lot of,
it is so
stretching to
open
get
and
the ball and
inclusive
stuff, but
because nobody really, you don't need to understand how to play it. Come and learn.
well, there's hardly any rules. Yeah, exactly. It's
And
easy peasy.
ultimately, the networking is the king out of it in terms of the relationships that you start to build with people, and the
Yeah,
paddle sort of facilitates that. And actually, you might find a sport you really love
yeah.
out of it.
Do you know what I love about it is that you get to see how people react to, playing a crap shot or losing to
Well, their
someone that
guards down
is,
a little bit at that
not
point,
as good.
isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
absolutely. If someone's, getting actually annoyed rather than just having loads of fun and being able to, have a laugh at themselves, it's definitely a leave your ego at the door scenario for paddle, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah,
Because
absolutely. But
it's so much fun.
it does show people in their sort of almost in their true ways in terms of if they're getting really angry on the court, because your guards, if your guard slipped and you let that down, you might think, okay, they're not the person I thought they were. I might, maybe we're not meant to, work together. And but equally the flip of that is you might meet people that you wouldn't have talked to normally.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh wow, they're amazing. I need to know more. And then you might set up, sometimes we do one-to-ones after after the paddle event's finished, or you might choose to connect with that person at some other place and
block them.
I'm not telling you if I blocked anybody yet.
But also it comes down to the referring piece. If you see that those different levels of someone's personalities, you're much more likely to refer them when someone says I need a this or a that. You're like, oh
because
yeah,
you
I
can
met
work
someone.
out if those people would get on with your connections and whether you think they're actually going to, because it's important if you're going to refer somebody to a business contact or a friend or family. You want to know that they're going to do the things that they say they do, and they're going to behave in a certain way. And so when you've been in a sort of sort of social setting like paddle or even with my walking network, you get a really good feel for whether they're the right type of person.
The vulnerability piece as well. It's like people say to me all the time, do you know any accountants? I know bloody hundreds of accountants, but I'm only going to refer one person to the next if I think they'll click personality wise.
If they don't gel, it's an uncomfortable relationship for everybody, because then they that connection doesn't necessarily not want to work with your connection because you're in the middle of it, and then it becomes all a bit too awkward. And
it's your reputation at the end of the day. And it's, I'm as protective as I can be. Look, I'm not saying that I haven't been stung in the past where people come across as very fake or whatever. And I've referred people, and it's obviously nothing terrible's happened off the back of it, but they've, people have given me a bit more intel into somebody. I'm like, wowzers, okay, they will never be referred again. As I say, nothing too snaky, but just some things where you just think, okay, that's interesting. And it takes time. The thing with networking is that you have to meet people and spend time with them consistently to see different sides of them.
I mean, you do find sometimes you'll get people that turn up to networking events and they will literally come at you with a sell. Do you want this? Hang on, what's your name? And
I put that down as a nervous twitch. They don't know what else to talk about. I give people the benefit of the doubt if they just come in and bitch slap pitch slap me, because as I say, some people, and also people have got targets on their head. So their boss at the office might be like, right, you must come back with X, Y, Z.
Or they're just not used to networking, and therefore they come in and think that this is the way forward. And actually, it's the softer sell, the getting to know somebody first, actually leads to far more successful opportunities, business relationships longer term than it does if you go straight in with a sell. But I agree, sometimes it is just a nervous twitch of, I don't know what else to talk about. I'll talk about exactly that.
Do they want to know what football team I support, or if I've got kids, or if I just moved house? It's like, I do want to know that. I really want to know that, because that is that extra level of of you, and it's bloody important. But I think, anyway, right, let's stop talking about networking. Let's talk about travel. Let's talk about what you're here for, because there's so much going on in the world right now, loads of uncertainty. Let's just get to it. Tell me, without going too deep on the detail, because we all kind of know what's going on, but what are the main things that you're seeing at the moment in terms of uncertainty, whether that is we're going to talk about travel as a whole, because as I said at the beginning, this is both corporate travel, because I've got a huge amount of PAs and people like that within my network that will be watching this, that are unsure about things, and bosses are breathing down their neck wanting information. So hopefully this will be really useful for them, and of course people have got holidays booked or thinking about it. So go for it, Alex. Give us some insight.
Well, I mean, the one that obviously that's in the news at the moment is the Middle East, situation, and with UAE and Qatar's airports being semi out of action, I suppose. I mean, flights are still going through all of those airports. So I had a client fly back last week from Melbourne through Abu Dhabi, and everything was absolutely fine. But because the all of those areas are on the no-fly or the FCO list currently, it does make it awkward for any clients that are traveling, that are going or were expecting to go through Qatar or Dubai, because they are the number one and number two busiest airports in the world. They're massive hub airports for destinations around the world. So it has caused substantial problems, and part of my role, I guess, especially over the last few weeks, it's about understanding what the latest information is, making sure that my clients are, we move their holidays, we've cancelled holidays, we've, rescheduled them out to different locations. There's a little bit of element of sort of hand holding on it, making sure clients that were due to fly back or ones that were stuck there were looked after, had hotels, weren't stuck just sleeping on the floor at the airport, and all of that was done successfully. And it's part of the sort of background value that we add in this area as a travel consultant. And when people talk about sort of buying online and doing everything piecemeal, you realize in a situation like this that there just is no protection on your money or anybody to really help you if you ended up getting caught up in these situations. So it is being managed now, and just say there are flights going in and out of some of these airports, and there are ways around continuing with your holiday, changing flights, going through different destinations. We've seen things like, the Maldives is a good case in point, because it has been traditionally one of the main destinations. It's utilized flights going through these countries. But since this has all happened, BA they used to run just the one daily flight, they're now running two. Other airlines have stepped in. Turkish Airlines have started doing a load of trips out that way, and connecting through Istanbul. So there's workarounds. It is relatively a small area of the world, so there are ways around it, and it doesn't mean that people shouldn't travel or should be scared of traveling. It's just about potentially changing your plans a little bit to what I've seen with clients this year. Some of them have reverted to just sticking to Europe as the main area of holidays for this summer. And if you're flying to areas of the world, if you're flying down to Africa or into Mauritius and those sort of places, there's no issues with the flights to go down there. And equally going over to the Americas, or even going over to places like Japan and China and things. You know, there's plenty of options out there. So it is, you know, hopefully will be resolved soon. But it's just one of those challenges. They come up every now and again in the world of travel when we're trying to move around the planet. You know, there are invariably areas of conflict, and you just have to manage it as you go.
Okay, so you seem pretty blasé about it. I mean, you are living and breathing this all the time, right? So you know.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. I wouldn't wish it. I wish it hadn't happened for a start, and you know, and it has. Right at the beginning, there was a fair amount of cancellations and having to rejig people's holidays, and at the beginning there was a bit of price gouging going on with the airlines that suddenly realised they can make a load more money in certain destinations by upping the prices, but that to a degree has calmed down. You know, there are obviously fuel issues or worries in that keep coming up in the press. I mean, they're not as prevalent as people think they are, but they are there. But I'm not really seeing any flights, or many flights being cancelled or any really being affected by it. And you might find that some airlines, Constantina, they're sort of some flights and trying to make sure that the flights that they are flying are flying full. So where they may have, run 2 flights that are sort of half and half, they might cancel one and bring it in, combine the 2 to make sure that they're flying a full plane and using, half the amount of jet fuel that they would have been. So there will be a bit of that going on, but hopefully the overall situation will start to calm down, and diplomacy will take the place of, military activity in due course. So. But you see, it's one of the things we're here for, to make sure that we keep people informed and understand what their options are and make sure that their monies are protected. It's part of booking with a travel agent means in booking packages means that you have financial protection.
That was going to be my next question around. Yeah, that was going to be my next question around insurance and things. Are you finding people have lost anything due to? I mean, what is and what isn't claimable? I mean, do you have to have a?
Well, if you book flight only, then there is no package protection side of things. There's no ATOL protection. So if you need to be repatriated and you're on a flight only, then it doesn't follow that ATOL will step in and bring you home. So then you're at the behest of the airline as to when they can run their next flight and get you on it. So you are a bit stuck. But when you've got package protection, it means that if we can't fly you home, we still have to find a hotel to put you up in and make sure that you're looked after, because it's all comes under the package protection, PTR protection. So there's a lot of benefits to being on the packages and making sure your money's protected. And equally, if you booked a flight and you booked a hotel separately, if the flight can't get you where you need to go, but the hotel is open, the hotel has every right to charge you for that hotel room. And you might say, well, I can't get there, and they'll say, well, it's not my problem. You've rented the room for 2 weeks. The room's here, and it will stay empty for the whole time. You have to pay for it. And that's the thing people don't realize sometimes, is when they might book things piecemeal without any protection, you are putting yourself at risk.
Yeah. So a PA friend of mine has just WhatsApped me, and she said that she's organizing a conference in Dubai in October. She said, what are the chances of it being pulled? I mean, I know you don't know the
you would look at it at the moment and say that given that there's been no real military activity over the last week or so, that they are getting to a point where diplomacy is starting to potentially take some effect.
Okay.
The likes of Dubai and Qatar, as soon as they can possibly be open, they will want all the customers that they can find to rebuild their tourism and their conference type sort of industries. Okay. So if you're talking sort of October, I mean, fingers crossed, there's a high likelihood that you will be able to get back out to that part of the world at that stage.
She said about fuel as well. I mean, there's all these rumors saying, we're going to be out of fuel by September, I think I heard the other day, or something along that. I mean, what is the likelihood?
There's fuel around. I think there's a as we always go through in these situations, there's an element of scaremongering, there's an element of truth, and it probably somewhere in between is where we sit. And you may find that some flights may get cancelled, but you may find where they're running flights, 2, 3, 4 flights a day, that they might just concertina them down to 1 or 2. Save on the fuel and make sure that the planes are flying full. See, the airlines still need to make money, and as do the hotels and everything else. So they will endeavour to make sure things happen.
Yeah, I mean, I expect that this conference, they're going to have people flying from all over the world to Dubai as a central spot to do this conference. But yeah, I mean, if that was me organising that, oh my goodness, I mean, it's such
it is a headache, and we're sitting here in April now and trying to work out what may happen 6 months down the line, and it will. It is a watch and wait, and if flights are booked already, then it's up to the airline to make the decision as and when they feel that they can, to whether they can fly people in or not. But you would hope that this isn't going to drag on another 6 months, and that they will find some sense in between it all.
So the message is keep calm and carry on, and I
think just watch and wait at the moment, and see what happens over the next few weeks.
Okay. So the other things that we really wanted to cover were updates in terms of getting in and out of certain countries, the EU, visas, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So we've had in April, I think it was April 10th, with the new EES European entry system went live across the Schengen zone, which is all the EU countries with freedom of movement. So they went live on April 10th. There's been a bit of chaos, let's be honest with it, but I think it's not necessarily unexpected, because it's they're collecting biometric data at the border, so fingerprints, facial scans, that sort of side of things. So the idea is that will replace the need for passport stamps and etc. Longer term. So the difficulty is, or has been, is that where you've had people that have been going, that are already in those countries before the EES system was live, are then coming back out again. So they're having to go through all the collection of biometric data, which takes time. And this has led to queues around some of the airports, and there have been, in some of them 3-4 hour queues for, getting through check-in. But I don't think there's really any way around it at the moment. It's just a necessary evil to get themselves to a point where they, once you've had your biometric data collected and you've been into Europe somewhere, then the next time you go or when you leave, things should be quick, because it will automatically be scanned. But that first time doing it is what's causing the issues at the moment.
So be prepared, and prepare to spend a lot of time getting out the airport.
Yeah, I mean, we talk for a European flight, we normally talk about you turn up to the airport 2 hours before departure. At the moment, I would probably say you should turn up 3 hours.
Really?
Potentially, but it's not so much when you're leaving the UK, because you're not having to go through the European borders at this stage. So you can't, on a UK departure, you're going to get hit with it when you arrive in Europe. But if you're on your trip home, if you happen to have been traveling around Europe, living in Europe, and you've never had your biometric data taken, then the idea is that you should turn up a little bit earlier. The airlines always tell us that we should be at the airport 2 hours before departure for a European flight, to make sure that you get through check-in.
The trouble is, when you're talking about corporate travel, a lot of people are traveling first thing in the morning because they've got to get to a meeting or something, and it's not doable to get there. You'd like to think that people that are traveling on the regular will be sorted and got it all together, but don't get. I guess the message here is, if it's your first time and you've got a meeting to get to or something like that,
add a bit more time and try and be, it's not going to change. You wouldn't need to be, if you're traveling from the UK to a meeting in Europe, it's not going to make any difference if you turn up 2 or 3 hours before. It's because it only comes into effect when you're hitting, the gates in Europe. But if you're, if you happen to travel out there a different way, or if you live out there and you're, trying to come back to the UK, that's where some of the problems have gone. But it has calmed down this week. It started April 10th, and it has, and it will. But by the time we probably get into mid-May, it'll probably be, you know, relatively smooth because people have been through it. So.
Okay, cool. Right. So anything else that you really want to inform people about that they may even not have heard of, or
No, I mean, you've got later this year. So one of the things I keep getting asked about at the moment is you've got this new Etihad system also coming into Europe, which is effectively a visa waiver system. It's the European Travel Information and Authorization System.
That was a mouthful.
Word, yeah. Basically, it is you know, when you fly to America, you've always, you know, had to get a visa waiver, an ETA, to get into America and just like Canada and other countries, and it's a similar thing for Europe. So there's going to be a €20 fee for it. It starts in October. Is when it's due to go live. I mean, it's had multiple live dates, but October, last quarter of the year, is what they're predicting now. For
and that's 20 each time, or does that cover for a whole year?
So it will. I think it's going to last like 3 years, something like that. It's just one of those things. Same as it is with the US. You get it for a period of time. Then you can go in and out as many times as you like during that. And you know, equally, we've got one in the UK. It's an ETA system, and so any foreign visitors coming in, it's costing them now £20 to get that visa to come into the UK. One thing I've seen with the ETAs, and I have to make customers aware of, is those on dual passports, because if you fly to America, the law is if you have an American passport, you must travel on your American passport. But then if you leave America on your American passport and then come back into the UK, potentially Border Patrol can stop you and say, well, you must have a visa and you must have an ETA because you're not traveling on your British passport. So, you know, I'm advising customers to take both with them. Make sure that they've got both with them, because then you can have that conversation at the gate, because it's just different rules. I think these things will settle down over time, but they, you know, with these new systems coming in, it's just people unaware of them, and you know, just teething problems with the systems, with the technologies, and you know, that side of things. But give it a few months and we'll all be used to these things. You know, once again, more. You know, there's always change. There's always change around the world. New technologies. New securities, that side of things. It's all down to making us, you know, safer to travel and you know, easier to track people, whether we want to be tracked or not. But
Rob's put a comment in to say very useful given all the disruption in the Middle East. So thank you for that. Cheers, Rob. Okay, so last question, because we are running out of time, or we've run out of time, but we're all right. We can go a couple of minutes after. Where is trendy at the moment? Where is a really trendy place to go away? People are sort of thinking outside the box a little bit. So what are you seeing a lot of?
The biggest destination over this past 6 months has been Japan. People are loving Japan.
My kids are desperate to go there. I mean,
I think because it still feels like a very foreign country. You know, sometimes when you travel and it doesn't necessarily feel as foreign as it perhaps once did, and you're looking for that
shock, don't you? You want to come away and go, wow, that was,
and Japan still very much has that, because it's kept its culture very much intact. And because it has some very defined seasons as well in Japan. People go this time of year for sort of cherry blossom, which is probably the most favourite time. But then you get into May, and you go into sumo season, and you know, people want to see sumo events because it's, you know, very traditional Japanese. They love it. You know, you get
like Thailand with the Thai boxing and stuff, isn't it? But
so, you know,
that's really good insight. You know what? I'm going to hit you up for. I reckon next year is the year I take my kids to Japan. I think maybe after. Oh no, it's going to have to be for this time of year. Oh, my daughter's going to be doing her GCSEs. Oh goodness sake. Anyway, that's for another conversation. But I will definitely be hitting you up.
It's super popular. You know, at the moment. You know, anywhere where people can experience somewhere new is
always
where it's going.
Always, yeah. I can't understand people that go to the same place every single time and don't do any other holidays. You know, for me, it's difficult when
sometimes people will do it to go somewhere else, the same place, just because if they're short on time and they just want a quick hit of sunshine, and you know, they'll go there for a couple of days, 3 days, and they know where the restaurants are they want to eat, and they don't need to worry about exploring. They'll just go and do it. But then it's invariably those people will have another plan that's going to somewhere that they've never been before to explore. I'd just love to go somewhere new. And explore it, see why people do what they do, where they are, and how it all works. Eat
I love the culture shock. Yeah, I love that. I mean, Dubai, you know, is a bit of a Marmite place to go, but you know, I was going there before it was fashionable, before any of the, you know, the really big stuff was going up, and you know, all the gold souks and the what are those boats called, the long boats, but all of that kind of you know, very quintessentially Arabic.
Yeah.
I don't know if those two words.
It's funny though, because they do quintessential Arabic, and yet they have some hotels that are very themed Arabic as well. And it's you know, Dubai is you know, it's a brilliant location in terms of you know, weather and relatively
I really hope it comes back.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that overly cautious, but I mean, I really hope it goes back, because I'm very due a trip to Dubai. So anyway, Alex, that's us done, babe. That was good fun. So
half an hour, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I told you it flies by. But yeah, as with all of these lives, this will stay on LinkedIn forever unless I decide to delete it, which I won't. I will also put it on YouTube. So this is a spin-off to my Georgie and Dave show, which is the podcast that I do with Dave Plunkett. So this will go on there, and then I'm going to pull some shorts and reels from it, and then I'm going to start putting that content on other channels. I've also got Instagram and TikTok as well. If anyone wants to follow me on there, it's georgina.dean.biz. But yeah, give us a follow on YouTube, and we will see you over on there. But feel free to keep the conversation going if you've got any questions. All right, Alex, have a great weekend.
Brilliant. Thanks, Georgie.
Don't leave. I'm going to finish the live now. So thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Thanks all.